What's up with the Ripple and XRP community as a whole? Hello again. It is still November 9th and the same day. Who would have thought? If you haven't seen this one video yet, make sure to go check it out. We talked about the whole Black Swan event, the whole debacle with FTX exchange, and how we knew this was going to happen. We also showed you a clip of Kevin O'Leary from the summer, when he told you that one of the big players in the game was going to go bankrupt. And an event like this was going to happen, and he told us that the crypto market had not hit bottom yet. All of this is happening right now. I'm actually going to play you another clip from the same video where he talks about institutions and then coming in. He believes this is firmly what we need, that we need these exchanges to have catastrophic events like this, so that the market can grow up and attract people who know what they're doing. That's just me putting it in RBW speak. When you hear what he has to say, you'll like it. Then the US government told us the big news. Most likely, you're about to be blown away. This is probably not something you thought about, but this is pretty important news. We'll talk about waves that ripple and waves that swell. We'll talk more about the price of XRP. We have a lot to talk about, so without further ado, here's how we do it, live coin watch. Let's go over a few things again. What's going on? A lot of red is still showing up, and oh, you don't like a Bitcoin? Right now, $70,830 is down 9.44%. There is a theory, and $1,235 is not 6.35%. XRP is worth about 38 cents, which is down 12.26%. As Bitcoin falls, the total value of all cryptocurrencies is right around $904 billion. 37.87%. What should we do next? Folks, I'm not sure. I'm not a fortune teller. What I do know is that we will go back up in the long run. That's just my professional opinion. That's a fun book to read. Angel Ovation. I'm saying now. Could we get together and show our support? I think it's possible. Did the price of XRP go up yesterday? For the many of you who don't know, it went down to 33 cents and then went back up, so now we'll have to wait and see. I sent this tweet out as breaking news, but it was actually sent out yesterday, so it's more like 36 hours ago now. There were 369,966 crypto traders, and the total amount paid out to them was $775 million. People, this is a big deal. You shouldn't mess around with those numbers, and it's funny that all this is happening right before the midterm elections. It seems like he ties everything together now, doesn't it? There will be some interesting times ahead. I showed you this in the video I sent you this morning. I'll show it to you again. Here are some changes that have been made to the Lux lines. The map is done, ASUS. We made a 3D tour of the map and shared it. We just need to color in the things in the background. Right now, everything looks like it's sad, but that's not how it's going to be. It's just all of the different things and places. Obviously, the grass will look like grass and the mountains will look like mountains. The water looks like water. It looks like the most beautiful water in the world. But these are the houses, and this is how they will look. People will buy these houses on the Oasis so they can keep an eye on what's going on there. Then I posted this. I told people, oh boy, Jimmy Cramer did it again. He did what? Well, it's not hard. Who can remember this from a long time ago? 622, Sam Baig gives out credit life with Fry to save crypto institutions. He's just like JP Morgan. He seems to like Jim Cramer. Because he didn't know what he was doing, he went bankrupt and is now running a business. And because of Panda Number, we had a Black Swan event. The death knell for the second largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world was given by Jim Cramer. It's that easy. Miles Jevons put this out there, which kind of irritated me, so I made sure I was going to say something about it. The list should say decentralized instead of Luna. 3 acts are not distributed. Say Boyd's not decentralized, the FTC, FTX Liberty, etc., 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 Ripple back decentralized. Batch, I've been doing fine, and Ripple is a business. Why should it be spread out? He went because they were selling tokens to US retailers pretty quickly. Instead of being part of a decentralized ecosystem, the value of tokens depended on what Ripple did. Bruce, I'm all for Ripple and working for CCI, but I'm not holding out much hope. So, I went back and looked again, and guess what, buddy? Your words are right on the mark. Pure dissection. So the SEC was saying that the value of tokens depended on Ripple. The SEC could say whatever the bleep they want. What they say doesn't matter. The proof is what counts. This shows that you are wrong. And the proof is that it doesn't matter what the SEC says, because Torres is going to be the judge and make the final decision. But you don't care about what selling tokens to fake names, fake emails, and fake lies would do, and you don't care that you're a joke. Go away, play a beat. State says that the bottom usually happens when something terrible happens, like a big player going bankrupt or someone getting into a lot of trouble because they bought too much cryptocurrency with borrowed money. Kevin O'Leary is the one. Kevin invests in FTS and also works as a spokesperson for the exchange, which is both funny and strange. It's strange. Kevin says, but let's move on when it comes to the actual conversations. I know that sounds like a lot, but in terms of financial services, that is nothing. Even the entire market for cryptocurrencies, which is worth less than $1 trillion, is not something we need. When you think about where it could go, it's really small. So, what we need to happen is, and I was just talking to institutional investors in the Middle East before I came on with you, there was so much interest in getting into crypto right now, but they can't because they don't have a policy and they're not compliant. Because their sovereign wealth funds can't buy Bitcoin, and they don't have the choice to, they don't have the infrastructure to do so. So, they're very interested in putting 1 to 3% of their money into Bitcoin, which is the oldest asset, because it says the price will go down. And do you know what that means for demand? Well, that's a lot of demand if you're in charge of a $900 billion sovereign wealth fund. So, we don't have that on the market yet because we don't have policy. So when someone says to me, we want to stay unregulated, they don't get the joke. We're going to stay small, tiny, and fractional. Less than $1 trillion in assets is nothing. It's nothing. It could be more than that if we could just get some rules. You say it's $1 trillion, so it must be $1 trillion. Now, at last, get some policy. I think policy is on the way. I think this is just the beginning of the policy changes we're about to see. Brooke was also at the BLT Digital Financial Conference, which took place in 2022. He is the Senior Vice President and Director of Marketing at Ripple. He says, how will digital finance affect productivity in the future? And the fact that society is so exclusive? Watch this. Thank you very much for a great summary of how the future of money will affect inclusion. Then what about you, Brooks? What do you think about that? Absolutely. Ripple is a company that was started with the goal of moving value across borders in a way that hadn't been done before. And we think that, in the long run, this has huge effects on the people of every country, but especially the people in the emerging markets. We talked about the idea of the $750 billion remittance market today. That's a good place to start thinking about how to lower the cost of the transaction and pass the savings on to the consumer and the recipient. That way, those dollars, pesos, or whatever currency it is go a lot further for things like education, medical bills, or starting a business. If you think about this in terms of trade flows and small business opportunities across borders, the way value is moved is so inefficient and expensive that we think the blockchain and cryptocurrencies play a big role in that. And the idea that capital is stuck in one market because it is locked up in pre-funded accounts and treasury operations when it can move much more freely between markets. That is money being put back into the system, which helps economies and systems in the long run. So, we think we're onto something. As I said, we've seen a huge rise in the last year, and I'd like to end by saying that we have a lot in common with the way Google works, which Willem talked about. From the start, We've been concerned about the environment and how to protect it. We were the first cryptocurrency company to sign the Global Crypto Climate Accord. We are also making a big effort to get carbon credits. And we're also happy about that. We think that doing this right and moving value across borders in a way that is good for the environment is the best thing we can do for the planet. Right? And they are doing that very thing. They know what to do. And they're doing it correctly. Yes, it took a little longer, but you know what the getting things done is, and that's what you want to see. If Sam Dion says this, tell Canary about it. I prayed about the Canary Wharf yesterday. I just had to take pictures of ripples. The new Crypto Means Business campaign is great. We started this project to show that crypto solutions are here to stay and are already having a real effect on businesses all over the world. Look, she's holding the picture. People, I swear to you, I can't wait for something big to happen. From this, 100% of the biggest things are coming out of Swell, and Adam says this: if Binance closes the deal, we'll probably get a short covering Pop Pity announcement like this morning, and then more pain as the MNMS continue to absorb everything, trying to get numbers verified, but it's hard to pin down certainly larger than 3AC. He is basically saying, listen, the deal is going through, but the bottom is in. Stay tuned, because the price action is going to go down even more. Then Johnny DT and David Goldstein talked about why liberals shouldn't worry XRP holders, which you can hear about in this minute and a half. Then we'll finish this video by talking about the US government. People also need to know that the lawyer for the library did not argue against the first two parts of the Howey test, which has 3 parts. And the third part is a 2-part test, or a 2-part element, which I think the attorney got wrong. He didn't disagree with the first thing, which is that it was an investment. And he didn't contest a common enterprise. In the case of Ripple and XRP, all of the smells are competing, and we are all competing as well. And the SEC's weakest tool is the common enterprise, so I know that a lot of people on crypto Twitter and even lawyers are saying that this is the end of crypto. In New Hampshire, there is only one judge. And the judge in the Ripple case, Judge Torres, doesn't even have to read this opinion. Okay, she could tear it up. She could read it and say, oh, he makes a good point, or this guy doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not going to read it all the way through. It did have that. It might or might not have that kind of effect. So, people need to realize that comparing the library case to the Ripple case will make XRP holders worried, but I'm telling you not to worry because it's apples to oranges. Look at what I like to hear when I call the US government. Look at this 4.4 billion bitcoins that the US government owns. What do you think the US government could do with 404 billion bitcoins? You think they could get rid of Bitcoin? Think they can crash it when it rained? Drop it? I do. What will the US government do with 4.4 billion bitcoins? We've always known that they had something to do with it. We didn't know how big their position was or how much power they had. Take a look at where they were. How can they use it? We know there are controls in China and Russia and that there is a Bitcoin blockchain. You think the US government will let that happen if they want to do what they want and take the sting out of it? You can see how they're going to do it right here. Pay attention, people, because this is big news. Also, be nice to each other. Then Winkle has to go.